All right, guys, this is my first screencast, so it's going to be a little bit rocky, so bear with me. Today, we're going to talk about the achievements that went on during the Tang and Song dynasty. So, before we do that, let's do a little bit of review. We start off with the Han Dynasty. The Han Dynasty collapses. Right now, you should be filling out the chart on page 44 in your history notebook. So after the Han Dynasty collapses, we have the period of disunion. During this time, China breaks out into several rival kingdoms. There's warfare. Remember, this is when Buddhism gets really popular. It promises everyone a state of peace, spiritual relief. After this, China is reunified during the Sui dynasty, but this is a very short dynasty. After this, we have the Tang. This is when the Golden Age starts. There's land reform, military advancements, a lot of inventions and developments. And then after that, we have the Song, which sort of rolls into the same period as the Tang. There's a lot of advancements, a lot of achievements during this time, which we're going to get into right now. All right, so one of the things that we have during the Song is agriculture advancement. So during this time, there is new irrigation systems put into place. One in particular, which is called the Dragon one person to do the work of a lot of people. They start terrace farming. That's the picture that you guys see on the right. So basically, because they have new irrigation systems, because they can deliver more water to their crops, that means there's more food, and more food means that more people are able to survive. In this time, there were nearly 100 million people. More people means more money. So this was a good time in China. All right, the next thing we have is the Grand Canal. The production of this actually started during the Sui, but they improve it during the Tang Dynasty and expand it. Over to the right, you have a modern picture of the Grand Canal. And not only did this allow them to move goods and crops from like far off villages to cities, but this was also a big thing used for trade. So remember, right now we have agriculture advances going on. There's more people, there's more food, there's more commotion going on in the cities and whatnot, which obviously means trade is going to follow. All right, so speaking of trade, here's some trade items. There were a lot of things imported, exported during this time. Some of the big things exported means these are things that China traded to other places, not things that they got back. So some of the things that they gave away were rice, spices, tea. And one of the most important things that they gave away was silk. And the reason that this was so important was because they were the only ones that knew how to make it. I don't know if you guys know this, but silk is actually made from a silk bug. You can see that in the bottom picture. And like I said, the Chinese were the only people that knew how to make it. So they start trading it with Europe. It's very popular and it gives them corner of the market, right? Because if they're the only ones that have it, then everybody wants it. Porcelain was another thing that made them really not necessarily popular, but gave them a lot of commotion and gave them a lot of control over the trade that was going on. All right, so now we get to our inventions. One of our biggest inventions during this time was woodblock printing, and this literally is like a stamp. So you have a block of wood that has something carved out onto it, you cover it with ink, and then you press it onto paper. So this was like the first kind of writing that they had. In fact, I think the first book was actually published or made in China during this time. So this is a big deal too, because now you can print entire pages of paper with just this single, giant stamp. All right, gunpowder. I don't need to explain the significance of gunpowder to you guys. This was obviously used for primarily for warfare. Yeah, you have fireworks and whatnot, but this completely changed warfare. You have to remember before there were guns, they were fighting, back in the day with swords and sticks and pitchforks and whatever else. So this dramatically changed the course of history because now we have bombs, rockets, guns, firearms, explosives, and so forth. All right, and last we have the compass. This was a big deal. This probably had just as significant impact as gunpowder because now people know where they're going. This not only helped with warfare, with people, traveling and fighting and whatnot, but this helped a lot with trade. because now people could determine where they were going along the trade routes, which we're going to get into more later in the week. They could get to distant places in order to trade their goods. So this also made a significant difference. Another thing, there's no slide and it's not on your sheet, but another important invention was also invented during this time. So again, what I want you guys to take away from this is that during the Tang and Song periods, there were a lot of people living in China. There was a lot of money flowing in and out of China, paper money, because they invented paper, and a lot of advancements. We have the Grand Canal, we have the compass, we have gunpowder, we have silk. This obviously led to the Silk Road. So there's people, there's trade. Things are going well, much different than the chaos and warfare that was going on during the period of disunion. So if you need to go back and pause, I know that I went kind of quick. You want to use the notes that are on the screen, as well as a lot of the things I've said, to answer the questions on page 45 and draw your picture.